And we are live. Welcome back to Pistons Jack Chats, where we'll have a guest from the Pistons and NBA community join us each and every week to discuss your Detroit Pistons. Before we get started, if you haven't already, could you please hit that like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. It all just helps us keep growing here over at Pistons Jack. And we've got a very special guest today, my man from The Athletic, the Detroit Pistons beat writer, Hunter Patterson. Hunter, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. I'm glad to be back with you. Glad to be talking Pistons after we've had almost 2 months now without any Pistons basketball.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like it's been a while, but it's also kind of gone pretty quick as well. Like it feels like I was only in Detroit not too long ago, like watching that Game 6 loss. But before we get to plenty of off-season chatter, the draft, trades, Trajan's press conference earlier today, what have you been up to since the season finished? I saw you down at a Tigers game or two. What have you been doing in the past month and a bit?
Definitely went to my first Tigers game. They played the Giants, I want to say. It was the Giants. It wasn't the A's. So being from California, the Bay Area, the Giants are probably the team I've seen the most out of any MLB team, just because we would go as a family and things. So that was cool for it to have kind of like a home twist a little bit. And speaking of home, I've gone to California twice already. I spent some time with my parents, got to visit some friends, my cousin. So just spending family time, definitely getting back to California and exploring Detroit.
I love it, man. And are you pretty much now set back in Detroit? Do you have plans to go to the draft and summer league, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'll be here in Detroit for next few weeks. I go to summer league in I think like around first week of July, and no draft stuff. Possibly if they were in the lottery, as they have been, seems like for some time now, but 37th pick, I won't be there. Although I will be watching and tapped in with everything.
For sure. Well, we're going to get to Trajan's press conference in just a moment. For those joining in the chat, if you have any questions and that kind of thing, we'll get to those at the end. I know this live stream's kind of unannounced, so I'm sure some more people filter in soon. So if you have any questions for Hunter or your topics you'd like us to discuss, we'll get to those at the end. But let's get to, I almost kind of missed Trajan's, that there was a press conference going on. I don't know if it's a time zone difference or that kind of thing, but obviously Trajan had a pre-draft press conference today down at the PPC. I know you were present. There's plenty of discussion online about what was discussed, but what were your maybe 3 key takeaways from the press conference earlier today?
The thing that stuck out most, about halfway through, he pretty plainly said that he and the front office with the Pistons weren't really planning to take a quote unquote super aggressive approach to the offseason. And he seemed pretty clear in saying that if they had opportunities to improve around the margins, they would definitely explore those opportunities, but it wouldn't necessarily come at the cost of them having to potentially mortgage their future and players that they want to see develop internally a little bit more before bringing anyone else in or blowing up the core they feel they have. That's another. And past that, I would say we spoke a bit about the potential rookie scale contract extensions coming up for Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. And Trajan didn't get too into details there, but he obviously said he valued those guys and wants to have them around long term. But those conversations don't come until later this summer anyway. And then he kind of had like a cross that bridge when we get there mentality for that. But it was obvious he wanted those two there long term as well. And then just kind of expressing his thoughts about Cade, reaffirming his belief as being the cornerstone leader of this team. Bobby Klintman and Ron will be playing in Summer League in a few weeks here, and he's prioritizing their two-way development and allowing them to do things they weren't able to during the regular season. So it was a pretty informative meeting, I would say, from Trajan, but he didn't stray from the main message he had at the beginning of May, at the end of their season, when he said he was going to be patient, he wasn't going to be overly aggressive, and he wants to prioritize internal growth.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing kind of that was going on Twitter and other places. And I know you just dropped an article detailing your thoughts and takeaways, or just documenting everything Trajan spoke about at the Athletic. So everyone go check that out. But I think I wasn't surprised by anything he said, and like, just for me personally, like after watching the finals we just saw, after honestly watching the playoffs we just saw, it feels like um, having team chemistry, culture, young players, players that have athleticism, and can play the minutes and physicality that's required in the playoffs. Like, it doesn't surprise me that Trajan's looking within the young core he has and seeing a lot of potential alignments between that and his roster. And I wasn't surprised to hear him say they're not looking to make any big moves. I think maybe some of his phrasing surprised me, just how like it's almost like quite matter of fact, like we're not pushing all our chips in, is I think the phrase he might have used.
Yep.
Sure. But I saw some of the fan base is unhappy about that. But I mean, what were your, like, just looking at the Pistons, I guess, young core, like watching these finals play out, like with, I know the Pacers and Thunder are kind of, those teams were built in different ways, but I still think there's a lot of synergy there in the terms of like players they have, the athleticism, their age, that kind of thing. Like, what were your thoughts on watching the finals and how that relates back to the current Pistons roster?
It, to me, kind of showed, obviously, I would say the main outlier in that series was SGA, MVP, Finals MVP. He's just a special player. But if you look at the Pacers, they just more or less have a really well-rounded team. Cade, I think, is more, he's the guy. And the Pacers, you can probably make a case for Tyrese or Pascal, but on this team, Cade is the guy. And I think if you surround him with enough quality players that can play both sides of the ball, like we saw with a lot of the players on OKC, the Cason Wallace's, Alex Caruso, J-Dub, even getting all defense and things like that. So I thought that was interesting to watch, but more than anything, I think, kind of given the circumstances, you have Duren, who first half of the season looked not nearly like the player he did second half of the season. You want to give him time to develop there and see if that's a consistent thing. Asar is really going to have his first real offseason, considering his rookie year ended due to blood clots and he wasn't able to have like the traditional offseason that you would want for a rookie. And J.I. now out majority of the year, I believe only played 30 games, and he, in those 30 games, was on pace for a career season. So now you want to see how he progresses as well. You go down the list with Ron, even Bobby, Marcus Sasser. He's played but hasn't played a ton. So this entire group feels really young, and I think, given the circumstances, Trajan and that front office really wants to be patient and see what they have with this group here.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think I can't remember who asked the question. It's hard to tell. Just watching on YouTube, but someone asked him about like seeing all the moves going on in the East with the Desmond Bain trade. We've just had 2 Celtics trades in the past 24 hours. Obviously, there was the Kevin Durant trade, which doesn't affect the East as much. But someone asked him about like, does that, speed up your plan or that kind of thing with the East potentially being wide open? And he kind of said it gives us I believe he said something like it makes us pause and think about it, but it's not going to change us from our overall plan. Um, like for me, like I understand why Pistons fans might want to make a big trade and capitalize on what could potentially be a wide open East. But I mean, I think there's a lot of merit in just we have like 5 high lottery picks that all
Hmm.
could take major strides. And I love how you brought up Asar Thompson, because there was talk about him being defensive player of the year as a goal for him. Like, I feel like all these guys can take a major step forward. And we're only just scratching the surface a little bit. Um, do you think like that, or where are you at with that kind of thinking with capitalizing on a wide open East?
Yeah, I think I know exactly what quote you're talking about. He said that the injuries in the East and how seemingly wide open the East is now, that has kind of provoked thought. I believe he said it internally, and um, but I also don't think that there is now a need to rush and try to, like he said, put all of the Pistons chips in to maybe land. I know there weren't any reports to my knowledge of it, but people just kind of like, it's the off season. You're curious about what could happen. KD expressed he wanted to be elsewhere, and same, or Giannis, I guess, more or less the same. And like some Pistons fans were like, "Oh, maybe that could be an option." And so that definitely feels, obviously KD's off the table, but I don't think there's any like big swing type moves going on there. But um, yeah, I think more than anything, I just took away from that Trajan has been consistent in his message, and he's not now, just because significant players in the East are injured, going to mortgage their future and potentially mess up a core that could be good together given time.
No, for sure. And I did find it interesting. I think it was Eric Vincent from Clutch Points asked him about talking to maybe other GMs around the league, something like that, for advice or looking back. And Trajan basically responded, he won't be, doesn't really do that now, but he just said like he was like comparing his experiences with the Spurs and how they built slowly around 3 stars, and what being around like a winning environment and seeing that come to fruition and the sustained period they had. I found that very interesting as well. But moving on, maybe let's just talk about uh, free agency. I think it was probably a few weeks ago now, you did an article over at The Athletic with 8 potential free agents that could sign with Detroit.
Mhm.
With what we've heard from Trajan this morning, does that change your view on how they approach free agency? Does it kind of reaffirm the initial thoughts you might have had? Just where are you at now with some of the players Detroit could go after following this morning's press conference?
I think just based on the conversation today, he seems more interested in possibly being able to retain. He didn't specifically say who. I'm assuming it's not the entire group of upcoming Piston or upcoming free agents from the Pistons last year, but I think he's going to pinpoint a couple guys that he wants from that group and try to bring them back. While he also said he understands that there is going to be a market for them, and their agents have to do their due diligence to kind of survey that market. So he seemed prepared. He said that they also have to be able to pivot if those guys do go elsewhere. So I think he's going to be looking at backup options, like he said, for free agents. I'm not sure. We didn't like kind of discuss how he plans to go about it financially or anything like that. But yeah, I think I look at how the Pistons might approach the offseason pretty similar to how I did about 2 months ago, just based on Trajan being pretty consistent today, as consistent today as he was around that time.
Yeah, he did the stuff about retaining players was definitely something that piqued my interest. I've always felt like Beasley was a priority.
Mhm.
And then It does seem, I'm definitely no cap expert at all, but it does seem like it might be tough to retain Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dennis Schroder with how the cap works. But it was still interesting to hear him say that is somewhat of a priority to retain those players. Um, Once again, off the back of what he said, do you still think there is a chance they look to, pull off a sign and trade with the Grizzlies for Santi Aldama? I know that's something that's been floated around, I think, from Jake Fisher at the Steinline, that there is interest there. The Pistons have been heavily tied or heavily mentioned when looking for a spacing big.
Mhm.
Based off Trajan's comments this morning, do you think that's still a possibility?
Yeah, Santi was one of the people who I had on that list that we were talking about, just based on the potential he has and how he was utilized in Memphis. But yeah, I'm not sure Trajan is. Yeah, I'm not actually. I was thinking about the fit with Santi. Can you repeat that question one more time?
No, that's okay. I was just going to
Mhm.
say, um, whilst Trajan said this morning that they're not going to look to push all their chips in and that kind of thing, do you still think, adding a player like Jake LaRavia or a sign and trade for
Okay.
Santi Aldama, those types of options, maybe even Bobby Portis,
hmm
um, some of those names are still in the mix,
Yeah,
even though,
potentially. My bad. Potentially, but I think just they already have their mind made up about. He said Asar has expressed, like you said, wanting to be Defensive Player of the Year. They're excited for Bobby and Ron in summer league, and so I think they are excited for the future they have. And he said, he being Trajan, earlier today that he would be willing to potentially look at deals as long as it didn't hamper the long-term growth and hamper like the internal development that they're planning to have. So as long as it doesn't maybe involve like one of the younger guys that they're excited about, one of the more recent draft picks, I could see potentially if they're able to do that. But Santi, I think is pretty valuable.
for sure, it's and just for anyone joining, I can see some more people are joining as we go. Uh, if you have any questions, we'll get to those at the end of the episode. So just pop them in the chat and I will get to them. But uh, Hunter, the NBA drafts tomorrow, round
Yeah.
one at least. It feels like to me it's come around very quick. Um, but I guess it has been a couple of months now. Uh, Trajan did talk about the draft or was asked about it, had some responses to it.
Mhm.
Do you have any predictions with what the Pistons might do with this pick 37 based off what you heard this morning?
I don't have any predictions. I think it will be interesting to watch how things go tomorrow and then kind of just keep an eye on who's available, who's trading up, who's trading down. Um, but one thing that I think is been shown each time Trajan has spoken publicly is that he's pretty calculated and not getting ready to make any knee jerk reactions or um, do anything that might be short sighted and kind of like jeopardize the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's been very consistent on that.
hmm
I feel like since his initial press conference all the way back in maybe May or June last year, and obviously a lot has changed since then. But
Yeah.
maintaining, I think a phrase I heard a lot today was maintaining optionality or something like that.
Yeah.
So uh, I mean, the team I'm watching, Alan brings it up here. So the Brooklyn Nets now have 5 first-round picks.
hmm
I don't know exactly where they all are, but I know at least a couple of those are in the 20s. I'm not sure how much time you've had to have a look at the draft, but is there a player you could see the Pistons maybe potentially looking at in the back end of that first round and moving up maybe 10 spots for with the trade with the Nets?
Yeah, I am not sure on pronunciation. But I just had to do a quick. I needed to visually see it, but Maxime
Yeah.
Raynaud, my guy
Yeah.
from big guy from Stanford, RP, Pac-12, makes me sad a little bit. Fight on SC, but yeah, I think he has a potential to be a nice stretch big. I don't think they're looking for anyone to come in and potentially start at 37 if they do end up keeping that pick or potentially moving up or down, whatever the case may be. I'm not thinking they're looking for a real high impact first year guy, but more likely than not, someone who for them will be able to be a bit of a project, maybe a two-way guy with the crews and spend some time with the Pistons when it works. But I would prioritize size as it stands. The Pistons don't have a 7-footer, and it's not like you need a 7-footer necessarily, but it's nice to have. I don't think the Pistons really have any real rim protectors. So, excuse me, shouts out Isaiah Stewart in the starting lineup. Never gonna do
Yeah.
Stu like that. But yeah, I think it would serve the Pistons well to have someone else other than Isaiah, you can rely on in the paint to be a presence. Not sure that would be Maxime. I'm gonna look pronunciation up. My bad to my dude, but not sure he'd be that guy necessarily. But I think he could be someone with a lot of offensive upside.
Yeah, he's definitely a name I've seen floated around. And if the Pistons would definitely have to trade up, like you mentioned, to get him. But I think he was in his most recent season, his senior season, he averaged 20 and 10. Like you said, 7 foot, definitely a guy who would fit that spacing big need that we've been talking about. But I love that you brought up the fact that whoever they draft isn't going to be a part of the rotation. Because I
Yeah,
think I see some of the fan base. I get it very excited about the draft. Even for pick 37, like I'm getting excited about all the potential of these players. But, Bobby Clintman was picked 37 a year ago. And
yeah,
I mean, he only got in at like the garbage of garbage times. Like I feel like,
yeah,
he spent a lot of time with the crews. When he got extended minutes, looked good in that game 82 against
oh
what was
yeah,
left of the Bucks team. But I think it's good that you brought that up, and we'll talk a little bit about that more when we get to the summer league stuff in a moment. But I think that's a good expectation to set for fans that the Pistons, they have playoff aspirations. Whoever they select likely isn't going to have a major role. But Reno is definitely a guy I would love to see. If they stay at 37 and they don't trade up, is there a player or two you like in that range?
I've seen, I believe on one of our mocks, even we've had Tyrese Proctor. I believe they brought in reportedly Chaz Lanier. So there's some talented guys. I admittedly have not been super tapped in with college basketball, especially with this being my first season covering the Pistons. I didn't want to leave any Pistons or NBA basketball unwatched. So potentially those two, I've seen Proctor, Lanier, his name kind of thrown around, but those also may be guys who end up going before the Pistons even have an opportunity to pick them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been watching mock drafts. I went through and posted what every major outlet had, who they had going to Detroit 4 days ago, and it's already completely changed again. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think
challenging with 37.
yeah, in this range, it could be anyone, but Proctor is a guy I've seen consistently mocked to the Pistons. I don't think that means they're definitely taking him. It's just a guy that's been tied to Detroit. He's a guard. He's Australian, so selfishly, I wouldn't mind
Shouts
that.
out.
There's also, I know, Alex Tui, who is also Australian, 6'8", kind of wing, probably more of a power forward at the NBA. Also worked out with the Pistons, I believe, and been mocked to Detroit. So, yeah, I think at 37, like, there's a wide range of guys. But I mean, Trajan did, correct me if I'm wrong, he did say something like, will we, if we remain at 37? Did he say something along those lines, or am I misquoting him?
I'm not sure, to be honest. He may have. It was like a 20 minute kind of presser. So I went through obviously the transcription a few times, like for the article and things, but he may have. I'm not sure. He's super calculated. So if he did say that, I don't think it was an accident. He seems really just calculated down to the sentence, the word, whatever the case may be.
No, he is very calculated, and I won't mention the previous GM, but it's a very different experience listening to press conferences. But I think we've covered the draft pretty well. I think anything could happen. I know I wouldn't be surprised if they potentially make some sort of trade to get into the back end of the first round. But we will see. I think the Pistons are definitely going to have a new player coming out of this 2-day draft. Just before we move off the draft, what's your thoughts on the draft across 2 days?
You mean like the new format of it being 2 days?
Yeah, just as like a fan of the NBA, and maybe how it relates to your job.
Yeah, I mean, I have this. I think it's Sparks and Sky are playing right now. Like, I just love watching basketball. Anything like WNBA, NBA, whatever. So as long as there's more basketball related content that I can watch, I'm cool with it. Definitely think we could have kept it at just 1 day, to be honest. I'm sure they're getting more marketing dollars, good business, but yeah, I've more basketball related things to watch, so I'm for it.
Okay, I mean, I like it in one night, but you do
definitely unnecessary though, for sure. Don't need
like
to
I feel like I'll be interested to see. I don't know if they even release it, but I know obviously last year Bronny was in the second round, so a lot of people were tuned in to watch that. But I'll be interested to see what the numbers look like. Not that I'm too into TV ratings and all that, but I'll be interested to see. But moving on, let's talk a little bit about the Summer League, because the Summer League kicks off, I believe, on July 10th. Still a little bit of time between, just over 2 weeks. But Trajan did say today that Ron and Bobby will feature. I guess my question to you is, were you expecting Ron to play first of all, and Bobby? And then because I'm trying to get this, how do you evaluate a player's performance at the Summer League? Like, what are you kind of looking for, and what should fans be looking for at Summer League?
I expected both of them to play at Summer League. Ron is one of the guys I've been able to develop a little bit of a closer relationship with, and he's super competitive. He wants to compete. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like they had to ask him. I'm pretty sure he went to them and said he wanted to play. And as for Bobby, I assume the same thing. He got off to a tough start because he was dealing with a calf injury for a good chunk of like the beginning of his rookie year. And once he was kind of back healthy, rotations were pretty firm. And so it was challenging for him, but I've seen him in kind of like the stay ready group, and the guys who maybe don't play as much. I've seen those scrimmages and how he is in the half court. And when they play ones, he's really just a talented player. So I expected both of them to play. I think Ron will likely be, I think Summer League is just suited to his game, like up and down. I think he does well with structure because JB is super structured in his approach. But if it is maybe more up tempo, run and gun style, I think Ron's going to be super, like, that's just what his game is geared toward. And then Bobby, I think it'll be a chance for him to kind of test out his bag against just like NBA level players. I think it'll be a good confidence building thing. Ron, I'm expecting to come in with a ton of confidence. He's had 20 in an NBA game against the defending champs at the time. So yeah, I think it shouldn't be anything that's like, if they play well, it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are gonna be the missing link. Or if either of them doesn't really play well, like I guess that would maybe you might raise some eyebrows, but at the end of the day, it's summer league. It's like I said, not the most structured brand of basketball. There's a lot of players who are realistically playing for their livelihood and playing to maybe extend their careers or begin it. And Ron and Bobby are in different situations a little bit. So I wouldn't put too much weight on it one way or the other, but I think it could be a decent indication of what they could become with more opportunity and I guess less limitations.
Totally. It's going to be, I wonder, I mean, I know even last Summer League, it surprised me that Ron played, I think he played 4 of the 5 Summer League games, I want to say. And traditionally, the Summer Leagues I'd watched the previous 3 years or so, like you're a top 5 pick, normally plays the first 2 or 3 games. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like Bobby's going to play probably all 4 of the first Summer League games, maybe that 5th one they have. Be interested to see. Do you think Ron will play just as many games this season, or depends on his performance?
Probably. I think they probably give him a few games, maybe like 3. I'm not sure. Like how it depends on like how far they go and like their like time in summer league could be extended, like depending on how well they play. But probably a handful of games for Ron, 3, no more than 4 or 5 possibly. But just giving both of them a chance to get some confidence and get some running.
Yeah, I look. I was excited to see Ron's definitely playing because it just makes it a bit more exciting to watch this season. This
Yeah.
summer league. Do you know? I'm not sure if you're across this, but it got me thinking. There's of the two-way players that were on the roster last season? Will any of them be playing? I know we don't have the summer league roster, but do you know
Mhm.
if those guys are still contracted or are they all now technically free agents? Like I'm talking about players like Dennis
Yeah.
Jenkins.
Yeah.
I think Ron Harper Jr.
Hmm.
There's one other.
Totally.
Yes, totally.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm honestly not sure about that. I know those obviously were the two-way guys, so I'm not sure if those were like. I definitely need to look more into that, but I would expect if they um, are expected to be back, then they'll definitely be on that roster.
No, I got you. Got you. I mean, I was putting you on the spot there. I don't even know how you find
Nah, I'm
some of
like
that information.
I need to I
I was just
need to be
curious.
on my two-way guys now.
Nah, you're good. It's the day before the NBA draft, and I'm asking you about two-way guys at summer league.
Nah,
So
that's
I'm
how it should
cutting
be.
you, I'm cutting you plenty of slack. The last topic I just want to dive into here. Obviously, we spoke about it a little bit at the start, but there's been a lot of movement in the East in the past week or so.
Mhm.
There's been some major injuries to key players who are on teams that you would think would be contenders next season in Halliburton, Tatum, Damian Lillard, across to some of the trades that have just happened.
Mhm.
Do you think, like, for example, the Hawks just acquired Kristaps Porzingis?
Yeah.
Do you think the Pistons have any of these moves, I guess, altered where you thought the Pistons could finish next season? Because I know some of the fan base, as soon as a trade goes down, they go, "Oh, the Magic just leaped the Pistons. Oh, the Hawks just leaped the Pistons." And
Yeah.
like, I mean, maybe the Magic one's a fair point, but I mean, yeah, just your thoughts on how the East is looking and where the Pistons fit in light of all the moves going on recently.
I think the Pistons are well positioned. It's obviously so much to still unfold between draft if any teams are doing any other trades. So a lot to kind of shake out, but I definitely think the Magic got better with the Bane trade. I think he's uh, nice balance with Jalen Suggs in the backcourt, with just both of them kind of being offense and defense guys, but Bane more so offensively inclined. But um, I refrain from kind of jumping that gun to say who's better than the Pistons based on who they've acquired, just because we didn't see a healthy Piston squad for majority of the season. Around the time Asar was kind of getting back into things, Jaden Ivey goes down. Those two don't really get to spend too much time overlapping. Asar didn't get to spend, or I mean, not Asar. Ji and Dern didn't spend a ton of time together when Dern was on his upward trajectory. So there's just still so much unknown with the team and how they could progress and continue to develop chemistry that I refrain from saying who's better than them now. I think first it depends on who's like on the opening night roster for all these teams in the East, and obviously it'll take a few games to see how JI progresses, and then how just all of the guys have naturally progressed throughout the offseason. But the biggest move I think is really beneficial to that team is just the magic. I think Vane is slept on. I don't know why. I think he's going to be great for them.
Yeah, that was a really
and Simons, that one too, is interesting, but it's just so much influx there with them. Kristaps just got traded. Who knows who's going to be on that?
Yeah. The Celtics are still one of the teams I think to watch alongside. I forgot about the Pelicans and Wizards trade. the Wizards, they're going all in. They got Chris Middleton coming back. They got CJ McCollum. Nah, but
it's a big deal.
They got the vets, but I mean, Troy Weaver is now, I think, the assistant GM with Joe Dumas. Troy Weaver, obviously the Pistons GM the last 3 or 4 seasons. They're a team to watch because as soon as Troy Weaver came to the Pistons in 2020, he pretty much changed the entire roster around. And I know a lot of fans, don't have the nicest things to say about Troy Weaver with his time at the Pistons, but he did draft reasonably well. And the first thing I thought when I saw the Pelicans hire him was, okay, maybe they're looking, to rebuild through the draft a little bit. I'm not saying they're selling everyone, but the Pelicans, Nets, and Celtics, I feel like are teams to still keep an eye on across the draft the next few days. Is there any other teams you can think of?
Just especially in the East, I think the Nets, just for the simple fact that they have like 17 picks in the first round, like not obviously not 17, but they just have so many picks and assets on that team. I think Cam Johnson, his name has been floating around for feels like at least maybe like a couple years now. So I think the Nets just have a ton of assets, and they could potentially, who knows, make some moves. It's always Brooklyn, it's New York. I think that's still an attractive destination, although they've not been the most competitive.
No, for sure. Question here from YouTube user. We already asked this before, but you'll be at Summer League. Do you go for, how long will you be there for?
So I'll be there from the 8th until the 13th. And so this is my first time being able to go while being a beat writer. I went for just it was like a meeting we had in Vegas around Summer League a couple years ago. But I'll be there, and it'll be fun just because it'll be like majority of the athletic like NBA writers and editors in one place. So looking forward to that, and then just catching up with Pistons players and people and watching them play.
Absolutely. It's I mean, if I didn't like, Summer League's one of my favorite events. I feel I just love watching like relaxed basketball summertime. Everyone seems to be in a good mood. Like there's no pressure. You get to see some of these young guys. Like if I didn't live so far away, that's something I'd go to every year. But I went in 2023, and it was it's fun. It's a really good time. Have you? Oh, you've obviously been to Vegas before.
Yeah, I mean, being from California, we like, and then playing basketball, like we would always have like the tournaments in Vegas, and it's so Vegas is fun. I mean, here in Detroit, it's not as hot as Vegas. Obviously, I actually don't know how warm it is out there, but it's been super hot out here. oddly enough, it was 90. I told you this earlier, and rain today, but it's been warm consistently here. So I've been kind of like prepping for Vegas a little bit.
No, I love it. And I think it's 9 p.m. for you now, and the sun looks like it's still completely up
Yeah, very
behind
much
you,
still out.
which is that's crazy to me. But that's probably gonna do it, I think, guys. Hunter, thank you so much for joining. As always, we love having you on the show. Tell the people where they can find you on socials and all the amazing work you're doing for The Athletic.
Yeah, Hunt Patterson _ on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on The Athletic. I am here with Pistons Jack occasionally, so y'all can find me where you need me. I'm pretty available. So yeah, I love interacting with people.
Absolutely, man. And we'll have, I think links are already in the description below. So go check out Hunter's work. Just dropped an article, which I'll be going to read, recapping today's press conference and plenty of other really good stuff there. But that's going to do it for today's show, guys.